So it's my pleasure and honor to introduce our first reader this evening, Shelby Pinkham. To speak of Shelby's work is to speak of a force to be reckoned with, of someone who knows the potential of what a poem can do, and of a voice that has rightfully claimed its place while choosing to be heard. Shelby's culminating thesis, RX Suppressor, which is the title, is a powerhouse collection of poetry that confronts and interrogates the cultural, familial, and social taboos around mental health, suicide, and the failings of the healthcare system in this country. And in this collection, there is risk, there is rage, and more importantly, there is a coming to acceptance of oneself and of declaring that I no longer will I be gaslit and no longer will I be made to feel ashamed of who I am. Through astounding works of visual poetry, from art collages and diagrams created by their own hand to poems powerfully wrought with rupture of language and syntax, this entire thesis is truly impressive in its assemblage. In each of the sections of this collection, respectively titled Depression in the first section, followed by Mania in the second section, and closing with Always Mania, Always Depression in the third section, Shelby offers extraordinary visual and conceptual range. There's a poem in the form of a medical questionnaire, a poem in the form of a scientific formula, a series of pieces drawing from medical dictionaries where language becomes hidden, revealed, or recentered to offer a new narrative, a concrete poem in the shape of a circle, a poem about suicide superimposed onto a statistical chart about euthanasia cases, a diagram poem based on the organs of the head, and even a poem based on the diagram of a pig. Also included are a series of pieces drawing upon the two-faced Roman god Janus, who Shelby evokes as a way to challenge binary constructs while representing the simultaneity of their own queer identity, bipolar diagnosis, gender fluid identity, and Chicanx white identities. And those are just a few brief examples of what's offered in this manuscript. There's a lot more. These poems do the important work of challenging normative notions of mental health care in order to reveal the shortcomings of the industry and in order to show that people are hurting more than we can even begin to imagine. Healing feels so far away when the harm continues to happen again and again. In the poem Circular Insanity, Shelby writes, I don't want to put my mouth around you, make you whole. Bipolar patients are invisible in the ward, hyper-visible in the world. Patient, of course, another word that strips me of my humanity, likens me to a kettle, a transition, a hallway, neither boiling nor simmering, but almost there. I admire that these poems resist and push against an attempt to disrupt the status quo of how our society approaches mental health care and how oftentimes that care or lack of it inflicts more harm than good to one's emotional well-being. I value that these poems remind us each and every day about love and remembrance of self. But more importantly, these poems accept and love the body and the mind for all that they bring and don't bring, and for all that they are and are not. And if there's a way toward healing at all, it starts by talking about these things and by choosing to bring them out into the open, not by hiding them away and having everyone pretend as though all is well. And that's Shelby's reminder to all of us to talk more and to listen more. And this is Shelby and their poems in all of its visual, destabilizing, lyrical, and necessary majesty. Congratulations, Shelby. This collection is one to be remembered. And with that, let's give a warm welcome to Shelby.
Thank you, Mai Der. I really had to collect myself. Yeah, now I don't even want to show anyone the poems. That was so beautifully introduced. Thank you. And thanks for everyone for coming. There's 46 people here. That's amazing. Like, what the fuck? It's Friday. You're here to listen to poems. That's beautiful. That's everything. My acknowledgements begin with my mother, my father, my brother, and my sister for letting me poem you and for telling me when I misunderstand you in my poems. Thank you to my lovely cohort, Aiden especially, who I'm reading with tonight. I couldn't have planned that better myself. He writes the kind of poems that are simultaneously make me want to keep writing and quit because they're so honest and beautiful. And those are the poems that I seek in this world. Thank you to the cohort before and after me, especially Mariah, my fellow poet, artist, weirdo, but also to Gao, Tony, and Ceci. Y'all are so generous and cool and funny and the future of poetry. Thank you to the rest of my poet family from Fresno and Bakersfield, Mateo and Woodman, most of all. I love you weirdos. Mateo, you're my poet daddy queen. Thanks for helping me title the book on the back of a receipt at the bar. I appreciate you. Thank you to Qua, the Laureate Labbers, High, SJLA, Normal School, Philip Levine Prize, and Rabbit Oak, to name a few of the places that have made space and community for me over the last 3 years. Thank you to Mai Der for taking my book seriously so that I would take my book seriously, for sharing with me your craft rituals and obsessions, for providing me my book and myself with space to cry and to heal. Thank you, Bryn Saito, for nurturing my obsessions and letting me know what's in the poem before I know. Thank you, Anthony Cody, for your Bispo and for weirdly knowing every famous person in the world, it seems like. Thanks to the rest of the Fresno State faculty, Jefferson, Church, Connie, hell yeah, appreciate y'all. Thank you to my students who just remind me what writing looks like and helps me deconstruct some of the bad strategies that I've picked up along the way in academia. Hell yeah, thank you to my students for helping me unlearn things and learn things. And finally, thank you to Eric, my partner, for letting me read poems to you and always saying, whoa, that's like really good. My poet family, they give me enough hell, so I appreciate you just standing me and loving the poems as they are. And finally, thank you to my stepson Maddox, who's just impressed by the fact that I was writing a book. Right? That sounded so massive to him, and that helped with my perspective. The first poem that I want to read is one of the first poems that I wrote in the book. In my second semester, it is titled American Medical Questionnaire and was first published in Pank. I'm going to share screen. Okay, there we go. American Medical Questionnaire. What problem are you being seen for today? How long have you been experiencing this displeasure? Why are you crying? What color would you use to describe your pain? Do you drink frequently? How do you personally define frequency? What drugs are you interested in trying? Describe the WebMD search results that best align with your symptoms. Medical history. Are you under treatment or have you been treated for any of the following? Diabetes, bipolar disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, collecting old dolls without eyes, an abundance of hair loss without any signs of balding, symbolic freckles, various cancers, unyielding desire, addiction, schizophrenia, chronic existential crisis, low tolerance for bullshit, depression, anxiety, general ugliness around the neck and chin, soul dysmorphia, whispering kidney, irregular bleeding. Do you have a family history of circle all that apply, making eye contact with strangers, wanting to pick up smoking but hating the taste, unserious suicide attempts, undecisive behavior when ordering sandwiches, meddling in the business of others to avoid your own problems? Please check any box that applies to you now or in the past 6 months. Flaring right hip, patterns in numbers where there is not any, throbbing pain between 2 and 3 p.m., dreams of riding the city bus, feet ache to capitalism, aversion to wearing pants without elastic, can't reach left shoulder blade, abundance of self-worth without reason. So that's American Medical Questionnaire. It opens the book. I figured if this is a space that concerns itself with healing, this poem works as a waiting room for the book. The next poem I want to read is titled Treatment for Mood Disorders Ranked by Effectiveness with Additional Notes. And this one's inspired by the kind of bullshit tables that you find on websites like WebMD, or even more reliable ones like the Mayo Clinic or the National Institute of Mental Health. But I've gone ahead and fixed those types of tables in this poem. Sufficient systemic changes in America, in American medical treatment and institutions, 99.99% effective. Medical conditions and general outlooks regarding mental differences would need to happen alongside other serious systemic changes, e.g. reparations, wealth redistribution, prison and police abolishment, loan forgiveness. Medication, varied effectiveness. After starting your medication, it may take 2 to 6 weeks before you to begin noticing a change in your symptoms. Mood disorders such as depression and bipolar disorder may recur or be ongoing and therefore may require long-term or lifetime treatment. Do not stop taking your medication even if you begin to feel. Do not stop taking your medication even if you begin to feel. Do not stop taking your medication even if you begin. Do not stop taking your medication. Do not stop taking. Do not stop. Do not. Therapy, varied effectiveness. Only qualified health providers can share their narrative. Only trust medical professionals. Never trust anyone but a medical professional. If a medical professional is not available, have the unavailable medical professional call a medical professional. If the unavailable medical professional does not answer immediately, have the unavailable medical professional call the medical professional hotline. If the medical professional at the medical professional hotline puts you on hold, then please take at least one medical professional while you patiently wait for the medical professional. And finally, work, always ineffective. Exercise, coffee, journaling, creating a to-do list, goal setting, meal prepping, attending to what is triggering symptoms, schoolwork, counting calories, general business around the mouth and nose, fucking your neighbor, getting a job, getting a second job, folding laundry, keeping up with physical hygiene, regular conversation with mom and dad, setting boundaries, cleaning the riverbed, jogging in place, doing 50 crunches in the morning, 50 crunches at noon, 50 crunches in the night, 50 crunches on Welita's grave, 50 crunches during the manic episode, forgetting to send the email, writing an email, apologizing for forgetting to send the email, apologize for apologizing for forgetting to send the email, emailing the email to email you back. So I want to next read Ars Poetica, and I'll stop sharing for a second. I guess this is an attempt. There are certain attempts I've made to offer myself healing throughout the book, but that's hard for me. I haven't figured that out in my poetry just yet. Ars Poetica. I've offered myself excuses, recovery, glitter, same as it ever was, boo, get busy. Over your body, I'm cutting God's heart into ribbons, pushing the handles, dull blades cut more red mess. Your God, so smooth, so forgiving, lashes to the moon. I'm not offering myself to God, God, a cloud capitalist, that greedy beard over my dead body. And there will be no dead queer body in my poem, only the red mess of men. And you can bet all my white hairs that I'm the bipolar angel from every little Old Testament rhyme. Sashay away, baby. I'm working on me only, long after I finish too, all up in the guts of these feelings, saving the seeds, recording the trickling of water, double dribbling. I'm studying true crime so I know all the ways to love myself against men. To tell me be safe out there is to hand me the tower. Please instead teach men to gentle when they be exit out in that night. Higher bind, a protection. Sometimes I buy redundance for that big house I'll never have. My life goes unresolved, but I've chosen to live it anyway. Tratar con cuidado. There's all this respect to father nonsense. Fuck that. You better mind the oldest daughter in my poem. She wields the power of the moon. She crunches on broken glass, a snack. The next poem I'm going to read is, I'm trying to shuffle through, I've completely changed the order in which I was reading, is The Healthy Insanity, which was recently published in Neon Door. And Mai Der mentioned the series of dictionary poems that I've been writing. And this is kind of an offshoot of that combines dictionary and some of the collage work that I've been doing and painting. But yeah, it's a poem out of order and the numbers are all over the place because this was part of a longer series. And I've just kind of kept what felt right here. 8. When I am wrongly diagnosed with depression, it is because of the way my doctor has identified me, not the way that I have identified myself. 6. Women are more likely to be diagnosed with mood disorders than learning disabilities. 11. To gaslight is to tell me that my fear is irrational. 7. Women is in quotation marks because I was never a woman. 16. If you're afraid of doctors like me. 5. The difference between confession and conversation is your participation. 9. Iatrophobia is the fear of doctors. 12. This time my fear protects me. The next poem I want to read is this one. Let me change the view. So you can see what I'm seeing. But the diagram poems in my book are highly influenced by Monica Ong's Silent Anatomy, a book that I first saw a diagram poem in, and the diagram poem made sense to me because of my obsession with body and histories of control. To me, the medical diagrams make sense for that reason. Showing various parts of my bipolar brain without the interference of stabilizers. After Monica Ong for Elisa Lam. A compromise of honey hands in pools of silk. Insurance for I'm tired. Superior frontal flooding. A continuous state of arrival. We are obsessed until there is no murder. Hidden self is just chronic pain in this unhealthy system. A tangle of dreams in which I drive to LA and we eat books. Instead, I am swallowed, spit out, My county is jawless, just cartilage holding the rest of the state in space. When they tell us to stop romanticizing mental illness, they are really saying, stop humanizing mental difference. A compromise of fire and muscles, paracentral twigs, wild with biting ventrals. Poor water tank, poor elevator, poor hotel. This is recognition. Bless you, manic twin, poor lamb to the slaughter. Hush, hush, silly sinuses. Catch almond blooms in the nervous valley system. Collapsed fragments of disorder. Toxic guilt regulator. Rapid cycling river. Altered self-worth. Salt finder. Root of disorder is a shopping cart with 3 wheels. I won't lithium any of this away. A body can be all of your experiences, so loud at once. And I've dedicated this poem to Elisa Lam because I'm disgusted by my obsession and a larger, more collective obsession with true crime. And I watched that Netflix documentary about Elisa Lam and the hotel in LA. And the punchline of the documentary is she wasn't murdered. She had a manic episode. And I just think of how many people have watched that manic episode that she had and watched the last moments of her life. So yeah, it's also thinking about that. And I'm going to move into the final poem that I want to read tonight. And that poem is titled Lithium. And this poem is dedicated to my sister, and kind of thinks about, the way we think about parenting, and kind of a culture of call the cops when you don't know how to, when you don't know how to handle certain effects of living with mental differences. Lithium. I believe you, I soft silver you, I white metal you, I stabilize, pinewood density you, my nova explosion. I hold you in my stardust, smile you in my 2 stable isotopes, hold you to me in undoing red flames. Too many metals are not soft enough to cut these days. Fewer letters from juvie. I am wildly swinging a promise open. I believe letters from juvie are desires to salt me. A belief in healing, not in cops, no. Not in the way cops stabilize. Cop knees, no. Cop hands, no. Cop guns, no. Not a medal for you. I believe you. I connect your nerve cells. A Big Bang element for you. You, I alloy. You, I water flow. And I'll turn it back over to Mai Der. Thanks again, everyone, for listening. I'm really excited to hear Aiden read, and I can't wait to just turn my camera off for a second and sob